an industry goes through disruption?
There's so many examples, but let me go back to one of the earliest, and that was the music industry. We were riding high with worldwide music sales. We had developed, through all the technological iterations, from those who can remember 45s and 78s through the CD. And all of a sudden, there's something called Napster, and there's the internet, and people can get any song they want at any time with their convenience. And here we have a multiple billion-dollar industry whose basic premise was, we're going to deliver an album, we're going to pick the songs on the album, and you're going to have to buy that album. And it was kind of humorous. We used to have what was called an A-side and a B-side. The B-side were less than desirable songs, but they were packaged right in with that CD. And the CD, of course, was a rather expensive item, but it was essentially centrally driven. It was not taking into account the individual consumer's taste. Now, I defy you to walk around and look for a nice record store where you can go in and buy a lot of CDs. And so what's happened in the music industry, and by the way, the reason I think people are so slow to change is because there are years of doing things the same way, and that's primarily where the money flows through a system. And you don't want to jeopardize that system at all by changing it. And yet here's this rolling thunder. It's really like a freight train running through that's going to dislodge everything that's going on, and you don't see it because you're a vested interest in what's been happening. And so instead of embracing it, a lot of people, including our company, just said it's not going to work. As a matter of fact, you try and prevent it from happening. You bring a lawsuit against them. And so what we see today, keeping the same example, you can now buy any music you want. You can get it on a subscription basis. You can get it on with advertising, so it's kind of free. You can pay 99 cents. So smart people have embraced the technology and made a new music industry. Just as an aside, we continue to see it every day. The malls now are increasingly in retail space emptying out. There's a thing called Amazon, which started, really e-commerce to sell books. It's now kind of challenging Costco and Walmart. In the movie industry, just to give you another example, there's a certain pattern of the way you release a movie and marketing and branding. There's a very specific media plan. Now here's social media, and all of a sudden people are talking on the internet about a movie. Sometimes they see it even previews, because we have a lot of test marketing, and all of a sudden the social media have essentially either negated a film or they're praising a film. So the studios for a while thought this was terribly disruptive. And then what's happened now is they basically embraced the technology so that social media is an integral part of marketing a movie. So I think the lesson is pretty clear. It is coming, it's here. The combination of internet and digital media are basically a worldwide phenomenon that gives the consumer convenience, choice, and control. Not only is nothing going to stop it, it's time to embrace it.
So how does that, you look around the room and you talk to people, and there's a tremendous amount of power in the room, both in terms of money and influence to truly change healthcare. Yet the question I think, I had when I first came into this space, and a lot of people have been in this space for a while, is how does that impact what everybody's going to do on Monday morning? What can the people in this room do to take advantage of this moment of disruption?
Well, maybe I'll give a personal example. You have these tools now to get to people when they're in this to a doctor, they listen to what the doctor says, and then they come home. What does everybody do? They go online and Google some kind of search. And what do they get in response? I'm not saying there's not a lot of good information, but it's kind of a chaotic algorithm frenzy of stuff that doesn't relate to my particular issue. I have a certain, even though a diagnosis is obviously generally putting somebody in a statistical framework to deal with it, but there's something going on for me, and I'm really proud of it. So I'll give you my example. About 4 years ago, my wife was very intuitive, says, I think you should go to the neurologist because there's something going on. And by the way, intuition, we believe, is very significant in helping detect certain health issues and to deal with them. So I went to a neurologist because I'm a good husband. And within a half an hour, this neurologist said, I think you have Parkinson's. Now, it's a good thing somebody was in the room with me because it seemed so outlandish to me. So what did I do? I'm trained to research the internet. And I did that. And let me describe my emotions. It was kind of a lonely, frightening experience because all this stuff was rolling in. I had no clue as to how valid some of the information was, what really applied to me, but it really caused a mild despair, leading to depression, which we also treat. And so I did what most people do, I changed doctors. And actually picked because I'm essentially research-oriented, neurologist named Jeffrey Bronstein at UCLA, who's basically a researcher. And the diagnosis was confirmed through one relevant test. But then it became clear to me as I saw, and he showed me where I could have access to certain research, where there are certain things going on. Example, there's an epidemiological study in California for migrant farm workers showing that there's a high incidence of Parkinson's correlated to pesticides. I'm now totally organic and vegan.